Humanity is gradually starving, even as global food production is hitting record harvests. In 2019, can you guess how many people on Earth were living in absolute hunger? I bet you don't know, because almost everyone who can see this video are not starving at all. People who are full rarely care about people who aren't. Human joys and sorrows often don't connect, right? But the United Nations says that 630 million people were chronically hungry back then, about the population of 2 United States. Now, guess again. 5 years later in 2024, how many people on Earth are in absolute hunger? 890 million, almost the population of 3 United States. China spent 42 years helping 800 million people escape absolute poverty and hunger. Yet the world in just 5 years went from 630 million to 890 million hungry people. That means, other than China, the hungry population of the rest of the world are increasing. It's a heartbreaking reality. What does an increase of 260 million people mean? It means the number of people in absolute hunger on this planet has been rising by 52 million every single year. Does your country even have 52 million people? The UN's hunger standard is already extremely low, 1,950 calories per day, which in reality is just for merely alive. A normal adult needs roughly 2,400 calories per day just to function. If you do physical labor, you may need 4,000 calories. Long-term intake below 1,950 calories carries the real risk of death, organs fail, and people die of starvation. If we use 2,400 calories, the standard recommended by the Chinese Nutrition Society, how many of the world's 8.2 billion people are hungry? Guess again. About 1.76 billion. That's the equivalent of 4 European Unions, 5 United States, or 80 Australias. In other words, 1 out of every 5 people on Earth cannot eat enough. The most surreal part is that even the United States has hunger. The USDA said itself has 44.2 million people are starving. Not long ago, during a US government shutdown, some US service members and their families went hungry too. Hard to believe, right? Japan also has people going hungry. Surprised? Hunger is not exclusive to poor countries, it's just far worse in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and including war zones like Gaza. Now look at the same period, 2019 to 2024. What happened to global food production? Guess again. In the same 5 years, global grain output increased by about 20%. Yet the number of hungry people rose by 260 million. Do you know why? Of course, this is artificially created by people who control the system, including the 4 major global grain traders, ABCD, right? Humans are basically animals. We have to eat. When people cannot get enough food, you are hungry and angry. You will steal, you will rob, you will kill. So future wars will only become more frequent and more intense. If you are starving and you don't rob, I'm even worse off than an animal. If your child is about to starve, what would you do? If the person you love most is starving, would you go and take food by force? The choice becomes simple. Eat people or eat grain. That's why what happens in many so-called third world countries is not hard to understand now. Why people riot, loot, kill, and overthrow governments? Some say they are irrational. They cannot afford rationality, okay? When your child looks at you with tears and says, "Dad, I'm hungry. Mom, I'm hungry." That instinctive human rage wipes out reason. Not starving to death becomes the only real rationality. For me, an Eastern perspective to see the world.